All right, cyber traders, welcome on back to wrap up our day, wrap up our week here this Friday, January 12th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back here for our afternoon meeting. Great to see all of our students and members alike inside our live trading room. Great to see Margaret, Manny, Scott, Jeff just before, and a few more of us just joining us on top as well. Leda and Lawrence, great to see you both as well. I'll tell you what, lighter crowd here. Why? Because it's a Friday anyway. More often than not, Fridays a lot of folks look to take the late morning off, early afternoon off, at least start the weekend early. But hey, even more so for this weekend, right? Because once again, markets are going to be closed this upcoming Monday, Martin Luther King Day, of course, in celebration. So with that in mind, perhaps a lot of folks, market makers, analysts, hedge funds out there, just looking to start the weekend a little bit early with family, maybe going to Vermont for a weekend, just get last weekend of snowboard or skiing in with family, and have their assistants do the trading for them, basically, right? It is a flat, stagnant afternoon, really like day altogether. Just looking at the market, SPY pulled back at the open there, and from there just flattened out a bit. So hey, AUVI, it's on our screen now. It's trying to move up off this 305 here. I would hope for it to, but this thing has been so choppy since the pre-market live trading room earlier today. Just, if you were a student, Grant, Michael, Ron, Lawrence, Leda, Margaret, etc. I was saying it really from earlier. When you see a stock trade in pre-market, you're going to be able to get some good, characteristics about that stock, the tendencies that it makes. And this thing was just straight up choppy in pre-market. It really failed to break higher, but even when you thought there was a case for it to make that run, it just ended up just continuing to chop around. Just very rugged trend across the day. Now it's trying to make that move here. So better late than never. I will add this to our list just with this move in mind, but hopefully it becomes an easier move, with that said. All right, so hey, just of course, we'll talk about Mara. We'll talk about the crypto mining stocks. Just if you were inside our live trading room just before, that's mainly what we've been, calling out, focused on. A lot of those trades dropping off with Bitcoin, but I was calling out a very strong support level on the daily chart. I still find that level to be very strong. So we'll see what comes of Mara and these miners heading into the close. But what we'll actually just do is go from top to bottom here. I know that one of the stocks, conveniently enough, ELEV number 11, 11 as in the ticker, get it? Well, it's up 21%. Unfortunately now, though, this thing is just pulled back, died off. Pretty funny how that works out, right? ELEV, and get it, like 11. This is elevation technically, but ELEV is number 11. But just funny how it works out. With that said, just ended up making a bit of a pullback here. Now at this point, lower highs. So I wanted to actually just jump to that to start, but now what we'll do is go from top to bottom. The SYT, this thing, I don't know what the heck happens here. Popped up just at 12 o'clock noon. I don't know what this company does, what they are. Lower highs, though. That's all I do see. The AUVI, it's on our list, but again, chopping back down here right now. So you really wanted to kind of like just blow the roof off, blow the ceiling off the place there, and just change the dynamic of that run. So again, just for anyone joining us right now, keep in mind Martin Luther King Day upcoming on Monday, and it's not just to say the markets are closed on Monday, but we've had ourselves a very boring afternoon. A couple good trades, but this is expected. Holidays put a damper on the market before the holiday and then after the holiday. The uranium stocks going up pretty nicely from earlier today. So UEC, quadruple U, and then the other one, CCJ. That one's not looking as good. So actually, out of the three of them, the UEC, I guess I'll kind of put on our main list here. And tradable within our price range. It's still holding near the highs. Hopefully there's a case for that to, again, make a stronger pop and run. But this thing is just, stagnant, flat here for the time being. So unless if it pops now, I'd even wait till like 315, 330. Talk about stagnant. I don't know if this is a buyout or what. I think that this company did announce earnings, WIT, but I'll pass on this now too. Grant, your IAG Gold's up big today. How about that? Nice little pop earlier this morning. I saw some of the miners up big today. JNUG, NUGT Nugget. It's good to have them back at least on the gainer side, or at least up big. They're moving around always, but All right, so I got Boyle, natural gas ETF. Again, ETF is the key phrase there because if you don't have level 4, then we wouldn't really suggest for you to be following it as much. But it's been pushing up pretty nicely, at least here. Just nice display of higher lows, and it actually broke a new high just earlier, but had pulled back. So I'll kind of slip this just on the back end of our list. Why not? All right, so I think that wraps up the gainer side here. If there's anything else looking good just on the way up, just type it in the chat board here. Just let me know. You know that we're going to get to the crypto miner stocks at some point here. They're down big, like some of these, like, SDIG, ANY, but those are not easy to borrow and you can't short them. And quite frankly, I'm not trying to short them. It's just to say, they were good shorts from earlier this morning, all of them at least. CLSK, which is easy to borrow. Riot, obviously, that's back to the low of the day right now. This is a couple of good examples on this trade here, at least between Riot and Mara. I mean, just we'll kind of stick with Mara with this here, but just we had a big chart level back from earlier this week, even from last week. It was at 2670 roughly, right? You heard me scream about that price, and back on Wednesday's trading led to a nice little pop, but then it had pulled back and broke below that level. Well, same thing happened Thursday, just yesterday. And once it made that next rejection, especially after the break above it, it made like a 2-point break above it or so, or a very clean pop. You thought it was going to easily hold a support. Well, when it doesn't, outside of any news that may come out, it's just to say when it makes that strong rejection after clearly having the chance to hold it, something's up. And from there, that's what happened overnight, or from yesterday at least. I think the Vanguard CEO announced that none of the Vanguard clients are going to be able to buy any of the spot ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs that are any of them. So, there's going to be a couple of naysayers out there, a couple of people out there that are not big proponents of Bitcoin, and to the point where they'll say, hey, we're not going to allow you to buy these ETFs. It's all just temporary news, right? So for as much as Mara ran up even from 2 weeks ago heading into the beginning of this year, well, of course it's going to pull back. It's going to consolidate. It's going to potentially break higher. And, well, it tried, but then it failed. And then from there, well, I was saying to you folks even just from yesterday, and I wasn't expecting it to happen even from this afternoon. I was thinking maybe it could be more for after Martin Luther King. But this 1919 price, roughly 1919, 1920-ish or whatever, really strong base back from 21 into 22. So you would want to see that act as support over time. So it's not guaranteed that it happens instantly, but hey, at first it gave it a solid chance, right? It was a good 50-cent move right off basically 1920-ish. It broke below it, a little under and over, but just recently now it just rebroke it. So, hey, heading into this afternoon, if you're a longtime student of CTU and you've seen us trade these stocks in the afternoon, namely the afternoons, you actually know that these stocks don't really continue as strong as they have the chance to reverse. I don't know why. I mean, anytime we've had Mara or Riot up 15%, 20%, and it's at the highs, just when you'd think they'd run higher, they don't. They tease you. Then they come back down. So that's where I think on days where Mara and Riot are down this 15%, or whatever, it's like a little reverse psychology, isn't it? So, hey, I'm a believer in Bitcoin long term. I definitely believe that we're going to get a good bounce over time here. It's just a matter of honestly when, and I'm going to keep a good eye out on level 3 and level 4, seeing if there's any good iceberg orders out there. In fact, for Mara, I should have just mentioned this a second ago. If you're inside our live trading room, you saw the chat. At 1890, you had a pretty big iceberg order out there. Just got filled. 77,000 share order out there on the bid. And I wrote that to you at 221. If you scroll up in the main chat, you'll see it there. I said Mara back to my 1919 at the time it was dropping. And then once it broke under that price at 221, I wrote to you, I said Mara 76,000 iceberg on the bid at 1890. And from there, so far even a beginning little bounce. So hopefully more room to come up, or hopefully more room left on this bounce here from me. Hopefully it doesn't fly up here as I finish up this meeting. But Mara, I'll add to our watch list, just given the overall volatility and kind of that reverse psychology type thinking there. I'm sure that you could lean into any of these other, crypto miner stocks out there. Listen, you don't need to trade every single one of them. If Mara is too expensive for you, and I put Mara on the list, then trade Riot, trade CLSK. But I'm not going to add all of them on our watch list. I don't want to confuse just any of our traders here. So with that said, Mara, I'll definitely be more keen to call out, and you can correlate the others with it. How about UAL down 10% today? I know Delta had earnings this morning. Less and less of a surprise to me. Delta doesn't do good off earnings. They even beat their last 2 quarters, and I think they raised guidance their last 2 quarters and completely tanked same day. So, not much of a surprise that we'd get a bit of a pullback here off down earnings here on Delta. And it's at the lows now or near the lows. So I don't mind adding it as a potential short. UAL also. Just really quick, there's a lot more of these crypto mining stocks than there are the major airlines that we call out. So yes, I'm going to add 2 airlines and 1 crypto stock. There's like 30 of those crypto stocks. I don't want to get everyone overwhelmed. So, the airlines that are moving: Delta, United, JetBlue's too slow. Not good on JetBlue. Even American Airlines, this is just too stagnant, I feel. There's better bang for the buck on Delta or UAL. Just trade smaller shares, I feel. So there we go. All right, so if there's anything else looking good, folks, up or down, just type it in the chat board right now. Just let me know. QuantumScape also actually down like near 10%. That's kind of separate from both the airlines and the crypto stocks there. So kind of moving on its own. Big pop off of earnings, I think, too, this stock had a week or two back, and then, obviously tanked. You know what? I don't mind slipping this on our main list here either as well. Nice drop off, tradable. Yeah, Michael, there we go. Definitely's had a rough week. Yeah, indeed. All right, so hey, if there's anything else looking good altogether, now's your chance, folks. Now's your time. Just type it in the chat board right now. But otherwise, you know what I'm going to say here once we have our list locked up. All right, going once, going twice. Let me just check out the market here really brief. I mean, going nowhere here. Looks like the SPY up and down throughout the day, more just kind of in this tiny range. So, you know what? I think that we're going to call it. I like what we got. Really, I don't like to make too big of a list anyway, and it's a pretty solid list at that. Mara, UEC, AUVI, even I'll check back on. All right, at least it's holding there. Again, Chop Fest, this thing has been all day. Even with this last pop, you hope to see the dynamic change on a trade like this, but you can't only hope. And actually, you shouldn't expect it to change out of nowhere. So, AUVI, if it pops, great. If it ends up even getting halted, icing on the cake. But just for what it's worth here, just be careful of just the chop as it continues to go up, even as it may look to inch up another few pennies. Just be careful of these little pullbacks here over time. But hey, for all of our students here heading into the afternoon, members and students inside our live trading room, I'll be on the mic just about at 3:00 in about 15-20 minutes, and we'll go from there. All right. Again, just really quick, one more time. Markets are closed upcoming on Monday for Martin Luther King Day. So that's, just on the 15th here. Hey, keep in mind, we are international company here, folks. We have students all around the world. We have a lot of students in Canada, a lot of students in Europe. And with that, hey, just markets are going to be closed here in the US. So keep that in mind. And, if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot me over a quick email just for all of us on YouTube or Facebook Live. I'm going to post my email here at the end of these streams. I always like to, at least. Josh at ctutrading.com is the handle. Of course, if you're a student like Leda or Sam, Michael, you could just private chat me right here. I'll be in the chat board, like I said, up until the closing bell, and I'll be on the mic. I'll be on the mic coming up pretty soon, folks. Take care.